Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video, and this week Kawasaki announced a whole bunch of new paint jobs for their 2025 model year. So in this video we'll go through all of them, and along the way I'll tell you what I think of each. Now we'll start with the naked bikes, and first up we got the Z650, which is their reliable middleweight naked that comes in at a really affordable price point. And for this year, we've got a couple of new options, one being metallic spark black and red, and the other metallic spark black and green. So yeah, a little bit of a pop on the frame and on some of the graphics, but I will say overall they are quite similar, and I do miss the 50th anniversary edition that they did last year, which was a lot more vibrant. And then we move swiftly on to their supercharged, super naked, the ZH2. Now this bike comes in either a standard model or an SE edition, which gets you a few accessories thrown in. And for 2025, the standard ZH2 comes in an emerald blaze green metallic matte graphene steel grey metallic Diablo black. And for me, I actually really like this update because of the sort of graphics with the green on the tank there. Definitely a fresh new look. And then also for the SE edition, you've got metallic matte graphene steel grey and mirror coated black. Now this one, of course, they've tried to make it look a little bit more special than the standard bike, and so while it is a little more plain on the bodywork, it's more so black. I do appreciate that pop of green on the frame and also on that belly pan, which I think is one of the accessories you get. And so yeah, both of these I like a lot. Now onto the retros, some of the best looking bikes on the market, it has to be said. These Z-inspired bikes definitely capture some of the original look and soul of the bikes that inspired them. And for 2025, well, we've got new colors for the Z650RS. So this is effectively the same bike as the Z650 we just looked at with the parallel twin-powered engine. And this one comes in either ebony, ebony green, or ebony and yellow. Now they say these are specifically a sort of hat tip to the original bikes, so the green is a reference back to the first Z1 in the 70s, and then also the yellow is a reference back to the Z1B. And look, I'm a little bit indifferent to the flat ebony version, but I will say I really do like the look of the green. I think it's great to have a green option on these retro bikes. And then also the yellow is a great option too. It reminds me quite a bit of the yellow ball version of the Z900RS SE from last year, and that was a brilliant looking bike, so nice to have a similar visual option but at a slightly more affordable price point. The only thing I will say is a bike that I'll miss from this year's lineup is the red with the gold wheels, which look fantastic. But yeah, I do understand things have got to move on and they've got to introduce some new options. Now the biggest sibling to this bike is the Z900RS and SE. This has got an inline 4, much more powerful. Instead of about 65 horsepower, we're way up over 100. And yes, this is one of my favorite bikes to ride. I just mentioned the SE version. We reviewed it last year. Absolutely fantastic, great handling, great sound to it, love the inline 4 engine. And we got a couple of fresh new looks for the new model year, with the standard bike coming in metallic Diablo black. I think that's with the green highlights as well, or a new Eno red option. Now the SE version, instead of the yellow ball for the previous model year, now comes in metallic flat spark black and metallic matte carbon grey, although unfortunately we don't have any pictures of this one, so we'll have to wait and see what that one looks like. But still, for the standard bike, the green looks fantastic. And also if you want something a little bit more subdued but kind of classy looking, then I think the Eno red does that job, especially with the gold accents along the bottom of the tank there. Next up we got the sports lineup, and you probably kind of know what to expect here, but there are a couple of surprises. And their sort of entry-level middleweight bike is the Ninja 650. And for 2025, we've got 3 color schemes here. So one is metallic spark black, metallic flat spark black, and there's also a metallic matte carbon grey and flat ebony. These are so similar. It's kind of hard to distinguish them, I'd imagine, at a distance. And so I don't really get it. If you're going to offer 3 paint options, why would you not give 3 completely different options to suit a wider range of tastes? Still, I do like the new lime green and pearl blizzard white. This is something you'll see across a lot of their sports bikes for 2025, and the thing I really do like about them is whereas you normally get a red accent on these bikes to sort of reference the Kawasaki racing team, they've now introduced this sort of yellowy or gold highlight, which, you know, just keeps it fresh, and I actually think it looks pretty good. Now the ZX-4RR is sort of operating in a similar market to the Ninja 650, but it's just a bit more aggressive in the riding position, and also it gets that fantastic 400 inline 4 engine, which is just bags of fun to rev the nuts off absolutely everywhere you go. And yeah, this one for the next model year is, well, it only gets the one paint job, but it is the lime green, ebony and pearl blizzard white, thankfully. And I think this is a brilliant looking bike. In fact, in that middleweight sports market, it has to be said it is one of the best. On top of that, we've got the ZX-6R, so a 600 version essentially. Again, even more aggressive, and it's great to see this bike back and sort of sustaining itself in that 600 super sport segment, which was flagging a bit in the UK and looking a bit thin on options. And again, you've got the lime green, ebony and pearl white blizzard, or you've got an ebony metallic flat spark black, so nice to have a couple of options with that bike. You'll get similar color options as well this year for their Lita superbike, the ZX-10R, so you've got metallic graphite grey and metallic Diablo black ninja, along with the lime green, ebony and pearl blizzard white. And then perhaps one of the bigger surprises is the more premium version of that bike, the ZX-10R, which it has to be said is like one of the it's the raciest option in their entire lineup. And so previously it did come in the lime green, which gave it a sort of bit of the look of their actual race bikes. But for this year, they've gone for a much more subdued and stealthy option with the metallic matte graphene steel grey. It's pretty much grey across the board with some little pops of green. And so yeah, I am a little bit surprised by that one, and I thought they'd have stuck with that sort of KRT paint job to give it the real racing vibes, but I also quite like it, and so let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Number 4, let's move on to their cruiser lineup, and they've got the Eliminator 500, which is a parallel twin-powered bike, probably a good competitor for something like the Honda Rebel 500 or the Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650. And yeah, it's at a fairly affordable price point, you know, a nice low seat height, so beginner friendly, or probably a good little workhorse as well, like a great commuter. Now the standard bike for this one comes in metallic flat spark black or pearl robotic white. That's a very fancy name for what is effectively just a white bike, but then that's sort of Kawasaki's MO. And this is one of the few white bikes in the lineup, but I think it would be my pick of those two just because it's a little bit more interesting perhaps. There's a lot of black in the Kawasaki lineup. Now the SE version of this bike again gets a few extra accessories bundled in. You can see it gets stuff like a headlight nacelle, and this one only comes in metallic carbon grey and flat ebony, which is a different name to the other black version of the standard bike, but it looks almost entirely the same. Now for me, if I was paying a little bit extra for that SE version, I'd possibly want something that looked a little more special. And so yeah, maybe a little bit of a disappointment because it just looks basically identical and the changes are really quite subtle, like some of the hardware's blacked out, but that's about it. Thankfully though, the Vulcan S, so this is the slightly bigger sibling with the 650 parallel twin, does get a new option. So they've carried over the very plain looking metallic flat spark black, but for 2025, you've now got metallic flat spark black with metallic flat raw greystone. And while that name would suggest it is basically black and grey, it does get some pops of an orangey red, I guess, on the rim tape and on the fuel tank. And I will say, I really do like actually the fuel tank on this bike. It's sort of split with black at the top and the grey at the bottom, but then it's also got this intertwining reddy orange graphic that runs along the middle that I think looks really good. It's probably one of the most exciting things they've done this year. Now on the same engine in the adventure touring segment, we've got their Versys 650 again in this sort of middleweight part of their lineup. It's another solid workhorse at a really decent price point, and this one's still offered in black with a little bit of green on the side panels there, but you've also got new for this year metallic graphene steel grey and metallic spark black. Man, that is another pair of bikes that do look very, very similar, especially from a distance, but you do have a pearl robotic white and metallic spark black with a little bit of blue on the bodywork. Maybe for this one, I'd like to see something like red thrown in there instead of two very similar looking black bikes, but ultimately Kawasaki probably know what sells best, and it's possibly similar to what Triumph used to say, where people used to ask for, customers or people on social media used to ask for like all these vibrant colors, but ultimately in the dealership, a lot of black bikes sell very well. So yeah, some nice new tweaks for the new model year. Let me know what you think of them down in the comments below. And also, you know, thinking about some of the bikes that are absent from this list, like the Z900, the H2, the H2SX, the Versys 1000, the Ninja 1000 SX. You know, quite often that happens. They don't just give them a simple color update when there are more substantial updates coming in the launch season around November and December. So what I'd also love to know from you down in the comments below is what you'd like to see in terms of actual new bikes from Kawasaki for the 2025 model year. So yeah, any great ideas, stick them down below. And I'll also put on the screen now my review of the Z900RS SE, one of my favourite bikes they've made in the past few years. Reviewed it last year, thoroughly enjoyed it, so if you haven't seen it already, do give it a click and give it a watch. Hit subscribe as well for more of the latest motorcycle news like this right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.